Welcome first-time listeners and returners to the Sports Deli. The Sports Deli is sponsored by SportRx. SportRx is the leader in sports prescription eyewear. You can find them online at sportrx.com, and don't forget to enter the code DELI10 at checkout for your special 10% discount. We also want to give props to PSK Collective. Be inspired in PSK, where their clothing promotes inclusivity, empowerment, and equality by supporting female athletes through the Women's Sports Foundation. You can find them online at pskcollective.com or at walmart.com. We also want to thank citylokes.com, where you can get your own personalized hats and phone cases, tees, accessories, and much, much more. I ordered 2 hats, and they're amazing. One of them says the Sports Deli, and it has a California license plate, and the other one has a Michigan license plate and says Speak Up and Dribble, Black Lives Matter. So check them out at citylokes.com, and don't forget to enter the code THESPORTSDELI at checkout for your special 10% discount. And we're so excited to finally be supporting Moolah Kicks. They're dropping in May of 2021. They are the first female-only brand basketball shoe, and you can find them online at Moolah. Moolah is Moolah, Kicks, like shoes, Kicks, plural, moolahkicks.com. Again, much thanks to Natty White, the founder of Moolah Kicks. You can always send us an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com. And you can also DM us on Instagram at Mike Hootner or on Twitter at Michael Hootner. A little bit about Hootie Hoot. I coached college basketball for 23 years, 15 on the men's side and 8 on the women. And I now coach at a low-income, first-generation high school girls basketball here in San Diego. I played 4 years of college basketball. I'm a life coach. I have a beautiful daughter. I'm a professional basketball skills trainer. We love to share space with our guests here in the Sports Deli to talk about the intersection between race and sports, mental health and sports, equality, empowerment, empathy, leadership, education, sports, and solutions. We talk a lot about white privilege. We want to help mobilize, listen, learn, and pay it forward. Remember, your voice matters when fighting systemic racism. Read a book, acknowledge your white privilege, watch a movie about institutional racism, call your local or state representatives, and or have a conversation with someone that doesn't look like you. We have to change the economic, educational, police, housing, prison, and voting suppression narratives that currently need to be changed in this country. And the only way to do that is to listen and learn, and then help be a part of the mobilization and change that we want to see. We're so honored that you're joining us today, and we hope that you can grab your favorite deli sandwich or bagel and your favorite beverage, and let's do this together in the Sports Deli. We are joined today on this 20th day of National Alcohol, Fresh Celery, Humor, and Cannabis Awareness Month by Kris Johnson, who was the Los Angeles Times' 1993 Player of the Year, who later went on to star at UCLA, where he won a national championship as a freshman for the 1995 UCLA Bruins. He went from Montclair Prep, a mostly white school, to Crenshaw at the suggestion of his father, where he played with some amazing players like our most recent guest on the show, former NBA champion Tremaine Fowlkes. While at Crenshaw, after transferring from Montclair Prep, KJ averaged nearly a double-double, going for nearly 23 points and 9 rebounds a game. It was one of the toughest players to defend, especially when he backed his way towards the basket, and attempting to box him out was nearly impossible. Johnson was named the City 4A and the Times' Central City Player of the Year. His last second shot he made to beat Mater Dei in the 1993 State Southern California Regionals was one of the most epic and clutch shots in Scholastic State history. Baron Davis, former Bruin and NBA star and friend of KJ, listed KJ as the 4th best player ever to come out of Los Angeles, behind Tremaine Fowlkes, Shea Cotton, and Miles Simon. High praise from Baron. He later teamed up at UCLA with Toby Bailey from Los Angeles' Loyola High School. His father, Marcus Johnson, also played at UCLA and won a national title like Kris, playing alongside Bill Walton, and later starred in the NBA as a 5-time All-Star. His dad also made the phrase, "Yeah, baby," famous as the radio broadcaster during his son's national championship run. Kris and his dad were the only father and son combo to be named LA City Player of the Year 20 years apart at the same high school, Crenshaw High, and the first ever father-son combo to win a national collegiate championship at the same school at UCLA. Sadly, his dad robbed a liquor store and got out-hustled on the basketball court when Kris was younger, but fortunately it was only a movie, as he starred as Raymond Dickens in the famous movie White Men Can't Jump. He didn't beat his dad in one-on-one until he was a sophomore at UCLA, and when he was a kid, he was in the Milwaukee Bucks locker room where his dad Marcus played, and Hall of Fame coach Don Nelson once told him that he was dribbling too much and glared at him. The Bucks retired his dad's number 8 jersey in 2019, and when Michael Jordan was filming Space Jam, he would have pickup basketball games with a number of Kris's fellow teammates from the 1995 UCLA National Championship team, and Kris was always MJ's number 1 pick. He also gave Kris a pair of his actual shoes, but what Kris loved most was that he realized MJ was just like him in terms of competition and trash talking. This was especially mind-blowing for Kris, as he worshiped MJ growing up, as he had a poster on his wall at UCLA. He played overseas, including Russia, Turkey, Qatar, Lebanon, and China when the Iraq War was going on, as well as in the Continental Basketball Association for the Quad City Thunder and Sioux Falls Skyforce, where he played with Fab Five, Jimmy King, and many others. His brother and sisters were very accomplished athletes. He loves to work out and talk shit while he's working out. He is the host of KJ Live, which has become one of the more polarizing live broadcasts on Instagram with his authentic, wide-ranging interviews and contagious laugh. He loves to experiment with different backgrounds on his show. He's done some work for Fox Sports as a studio analyst. He starred on a reality show. He's a dad, and his son Will plays basketball for the Oregon Ducks, and he shares a birthday with current Memphis coach Penny Hardaway, Wendy Williams, Vin Diesel, and Nelson Mandela. You can find him online on Instagram at Kris Johnson Live, on Twitter at Point Forward Pro, and on YouTube, just search for Kris Johnson Live, where on his KJ Live broadcast has brought us some of the most unbelievable guests. Man, a huge national championship. Warm welcome to the Sports Deli, bro.
Thank you. That was a nice intro. Where do I send the check?
Repping UCLA, baby. KJ Live in the house.
What's up, Doc?
What's up, man?
How you doing? Dude, I had totally yo.
You multitasking like a motherfucker.
Yeah,
you're straight, man. So listen, man. Obviously, I've listened to a lot of your interviews. I'm probably as pumped about this as I've been about any of our guests, whether it's Jay Billis, Doug Williams, just because just the way that you go about your interviews is just it's authentic. I love just the way that you pivot and show agility, during your interviews, and you have a genuine concern for your guests. A lot of them, but you really care about paying it forward and listening and learning, even though you've had a lot of success in your life. But I want to ask you, obviously UCLA had a great run this year. How crazy is it to lose 4 in a row to end the regular season and then win 5 in a row, including over a Tom Izzo, led Michigan State team? But they had won 4 before the 4 losses, which was even crazier. They won 4, lost 4, won 5.
Yeah. Those 4 that they lost, it just shows you that it was just, it was close. They were in every game.
Yeah.
It was down to, a lot of times the last possession, they lost on the buzzer beater. Then had a 3-point loss, and I think another 5-point loss, but everything was close. They're in it until the last minute of the game. That was indicative of a team that was locked in, bought into what Coach Cronin is doing. Sometimes you're going to hit shots, sometimes you're going to not hit shots, and in those 4 games, that was the difference between winning and losing.
I've never talked about this on the show, and I don't know how many episodes we've had, maybe 60, and it's pretty guest driven like yours. Um, but I wanted to ask this question, and give me a second to sort of frame it in the right way. So growing up, I had some incredible memories, great friends like you. My youth coaches were really important to me. My aunts and my mom and my grandparents, helped me a lot because the one thing I have talked about on the show is my dad committed suicide when I was 9. Um,
I'm
and
sorry.
yeah, but it was devastating at the time, but it was just something that I think I didn't realize it, but going forward, that's a reason why I sort of operate in the way that I do. I pay it forward and helping kids and being an advocate for women and equality and those types of things. And you had some difficult things that you had to deal with when you were younger. Um, and so, I don't know what you're comfortable talking about. Obviously, just share whatever it is that you want to talk about, because we all have stuff that we've dealt with growing up, right? And so you had some things that you had to deal with, and so the one thing that I thought about this morning, actually, when I woke up, when I thought about your story and how I wanted to sort of intro it. When I was in 5th grade, my mom asked me if I wanted to go to a public school, and I was going to a Jewish day school for the first 4 years, and I was literally miserable.
Mm.
I don't know how many people know your history of growing up and some of the changes you had to go through and some of the hardships you had to go through. But a lot of people that listen to the show are white, and we're trying to educate people in a way where we're not ramming it down their throat, but also making them see things from a black perspective and the white perspective, because the reality is some people listen to blacks and some people listen to whites.
Hmm.
But talk a little bit about, like you do on your show, KJ Live. You ask people their parents' names and where they grew up and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about some of the hardships and some of the things that paved the way for you growing up.
Well, everything wasn't necessarily a hardship, Mike. There were some challenges, So the way I grew up, my mom had me. I think she had to drop out of college. She was at UCLA. Her and my dad were high school sweethearts at Crenshaw High, and then they, I think they went on to UCLA, and my mom got into UCLA, ended up getting pregnant, had to drop out of school, had me, and then that sort of started, my sort of journey through life. Everything wasn't rosy in the beginning between my mom and my dad. They were never married. And so, I would spend time with my mother. I would spend time with my dad. At the time, my dad was in the NBA playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. So he'd be either in Milwaukee or LA. So a lot of the time I would spend at my grandparents who lived in it's called View Park, sort of like about Ladera Heights area of LA. And so my mom, we lived off of 60th Street in Crenshaw. So we were right in the hood. And so growing up was a little weird for me because I'd spend the week, at my school or whatever school it was that I went to, like 20 something different schools growing up, because
Wow.
moving around my mom and my dad, changing living the country, moving states. It's an odyssey. So the thing that made it difficult for me, and I remember just identifying this at an early age, was just not really understanding just, how to be, because when I was with my mom in the black neighborhood, I could talk black, I could be black, and it wasn't an issue. But when I went over with my dad, and he lived in Bel Air, so I'd have to go over there, and I'd be around white people, and I'd have to talk a little differently, move a little differently, act a little differently. And so this went on for a number of years.
Hmm.
I eventually moved in with my dad when I think I was 13 for good. So between 13 and 18 is like when I lived with my dad for good. But before then, it was, back and forth, and grandparents had me for a little bit, which is why I'm so close with my grandmother. My grandfather, rest in peace, but they had me for a large part of my life. They're a big, huge part of who I am and the way I operate. So, that part of it was definitely difficult. It was definitely a challenge. It was definitely something that, bothered me, created issues in me, just having having to change up. And I wouldn't even say I wouldn't even say a chameleon, because, you know, it, uh, you know, these were things I had to do just because whatever insecurity I had about myself or the setting or the scenario. Oh, I don't want them to judge me or think of me like this. If I was in the white neighborhood or if I was in South Central, I don't want them to think I'm too white. So I have to talk more black, act less smart than I actually really am. And so these were things that, you go through, and throughout school. And, obviously I had a personality that would stand out. And so sometimes, you just have to, I don't know, change up who you are. And that's sort of what my whole point of telling this part of it was, because it's just not really having a struggle with identity and who you are and being black. But, having grown up in, white neighborhoods at the height of white neighborhood in Bel Air and at the, bottom of the barrel, if you will, in South Central. I was living in Bel Air, driving to Crenshaw in high school. So, I mean, just imagine that, like, you know what I mean? It was just weird, it was weird, but it also gave me the ability to deal with anybody in the world. So I can talk to anybody. And I think, you see that with my show. When you grow up that way, you have a lot of friends, you have different people that kind of come in and out of your life. And so, and it isn't necessarily based on factors like, this or that, but it's just like whoever will be nice to you and talk to you, whoever will accept you for who you are, whoever is not going to care that you don't talk white enough, you don't talk black enough, or if your hair is curly, or if you're overweight or whatever, it's who is going to be cool with you. And so I was able to, just gravitate towards people that I had like-minded energy, if you will. And, sometimes it doesn't always look, like you think it's going to look, but, these people were important to me. And so, yeah, I mean, the challenges, it was a lot bigger, different of a challenge when I was with my mother versus when I was with my dad. So I felt all the hardships and obstacles when I was with mom and living off of, 43rd and King Boulevard out here and having to, watch, everything from, just not having certain things. My mom, she did everything she could to provide for us. And we definitely lived a decent life, but there's just a big difference, when I go to my dad and I'd be exposed to certain types of things and I go back to my mom, and now this is creating issues with my parents, and I'm looking at my mom in this situation a little differently as a child. You're 13, 14, 15 years old, or no, not even that. You're 9, 10, 11 years old. And you got, on one hand, you got Bel Air and the glitz and glamour of, whatever, Hollywood and all this other stuff. Your dad's a celebrity. And then, your mom's working hard. She's working 2 jobs. She's going to trade tech college out here, just studying to become an engineer. We're on the RTD every day, riding the bus around. I knew every bus route in Los Angeles County, dang near, when I was a child. Latchkey kid coming home with my little brother, Scott, my little brother Khalik. So I would have to, he was about 3 years younger than me. So I have to, take him home, walk him home from school. We had the key and a dime. The dime, you can make a call back then for a dime. So you have a key and a dime in your wallet. And, that's what it was. We'd ride the bus out from South Central LA to downtown every morning. My mom dropped my mom off at school. Then we head back. I'm 10 years old, responsible, going back to school in LA, going to school, making sure I got to school, making sure I'm getting home, 10 years old. And, it was a lot. It was a lot of those type of things were the challenges. But then, on the weekend, hey, I'm, somewhere unbelievable, just like your wildest, I mean, whatever, your dreams are coming true on the weekend when it's your dad's weekend. Just put it like that. And then I go back to reality. And so that happened for a while. And, and so that was, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, when we've had some side conversations, I could sort of sense similar energies in terms of, obviously we've done well for ourselves, but there's that past that either creates a void or the wound is healed, and now we're using it in a way to empower ourselves and others, and that allows us to evolve. And if we hadn't had those experiences, even though we wouldn't wish them on anyone,
right,
they do make us grow,
right,
and stronger and better people, right? What doesn't kill us, kind of thing. And so a lot of the things that you sort of peripherally talked about are taboo subjects, in several communities. And so looking back on it, are there things that you've addressed later in life that you feel like you understand better now? because we talk a lot about mental health on this show. That it's not taboo anymore as much as it used to be with the NBA or NFL, those types of things. Whether it's mental health or anything else, are there other things that you feel good about, that you've overcome, that you've investigated with yourself and said, oh, okay, I got closure with that now?
Yeah, I don't know if I think about it in those exact terms, but I do know that I've definitely evolved and grown from when I was, 18, 19, 20 years old, into now, into my elder, approaching 50 here in about 4 or 5 years. A lot of that had to do with, having kids, the natural just evolution of life. And then you have to learn some hard lessons. You got to fail, you got to, just like Frank Sinatra's, what's the song? That's life, He's like, you got to pick yourself up and dust yourself off over and over and over again. And hopefully you're taking some lessons from the last time that you picked yourself off, and so that you're not walking the same path that caused you to trip, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that part of it is kind of like the natural part. And then having children and having people to be accountable to as far as your behavior and this and that. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm still a work in progress. I'm not by any means a finished product or anything like that, but yeah, there's definitely things that I've grown from and I've learned from, and I've had to experience the hard way. I mean, I've had a lot of things that just dealing with just exposure just to relationships, and I've been divorced and I've been in dealing with court and kids and just the whole thing. So it kind of strips you down in a way to where your pride isn't necessarily the thing that drives you anymore, because you just been dissed and just talked about so bad, and it just don't matter. So you look at yourself a little differently. I guess I don't want to call it humility, but it's just something that happens to you when you get a little older, and you're just not tripping on some of the stuff like you used to. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I kind of got to within my life.
Did you ever talk to Matt Barnes about how he's had to sort of reinvent himself, not just professionally, but as a dad? And the run-ins with him, with his situation with Derek and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I did talk to Matt Barnes about that topic in particular. I asked him about what it was, and he just basically said, "Hey, man, you just had to grow up. Now it's about doing things for the greater good of the kids, and if you love your kids enough, you will sacrifice your pride and get along with whoever the significant other is that your woman that you had the kids with has moved on to." And that's a lot easier said than done, because there's just so many, when you have relationships with people, and kids, there's so many doggone emotions and resentment, and just there's so much stuff that goes into it. You almost can't even have a conversation with these people without having a mediator in the room to make sure that you guys aren't tearing each other's heads off. And so when you get into a situation like that, and they came to blows before Matt and Derek did, it's either you're gonna drive yourself crazy, obsessing over beating this dude up and obsessing over the fact that he's with your ex now, even though you may be doing whatever, you've moved on. But it starts to become a thing where it's like, let me grow up, let me evolve a little bit. And that's what Matt said. He said he just woke up and was like, look, man, I'm just trying to get along. I'm not tripping on that. And since about 2018, Matt's been really cool with Derek Fisher. So 3 years now. And so, they're moving forward. And that's kind of the place it's really important to get to if you have children with someone and you're not with them anymore. And, you just don't want to spend their whole childhood and life, holding their mom or holding their dad in a negative vein to where it affects the way you talk about them. It affects the way the how you present them to your children. And then your kids are going to grow up with, a certain type of thing in their head. They're going to start disrespecting you because mom says it's cool. It just becomes a whole thing. It becomes a whole thing. So the best bet is to put your pride aside, chalk this one up to the game, and just get along for the greater good of the kids. And that's just it.
Yeah. Mad props for that part of your evolution, because that, like you said, the kids are most important. My daughter's 10. Your kid, we'll talk about in a little while. He's playing. One of them's playing at Oregon, following you and your dad's footsteps, which is really cool. We hope you're enjoying this incredible interview with Kris Johnson, former national champion with the men's basketball team at UCLA in 1995, who later went on to play professionally. And he will now discuss parts of his experiences at UCLA, including that championship run, and his incredible transformation between his freshman and sophomore campaigns, where he went down to Atlanta to visit his mom, and when he came back, no one recognized him, including Michael Jordan. So refill your favorite beverage, and let's continue to do this together in the Sports Deli. So let's go back to the UCLA days, because I know some people listening want to hear a little bit about that experience, because time flies when you're having fun. And I remember, I first started working camps there, and Lav was the restricted earnings coach, I think, and I want to ask you about Lorenzo in a minute, because people know him as a coach at Pepperdine and Washington, and Mark coached at Alabama and a couple other places. But what was that like? Tyus Edney's shot in the second round, and then just going from there, and big country in the Final Four. Just talk about that run and what it was like.
For me, it was, I kind of had, I'll be honest with you about that run. I had mixed emotions about it. So I had just come off of winning 2 state championships. Yeah. We were top 5 in the country both years. And honestly, I got signed by UCLA. Everybody thought I was an afterthought to the class, or just because my dad went there. But I was coming in to play. And I came in training camp. I had torn my knee up about in August, or 2 months, about July. That summer, I tear my knee up. I got to get a scope. So they scope my knee. I come back. So this is like literally within 3-4 months. I come back. I make it to the point at UCLA where I'm in the rotation, 6 man. We get to the first exhibition game against Athletes in Action. I drop 18. Okay, as a freshman, 270 playing center. Okay, in a real game. And then right after the game, I developed a stress fracture. So I drop 18, they look at my leg, and they're like, oh yeah, you're out for like a month and a half. So it goes from the knee. So I had the knee, then I come back, drop 18 as a freshman, have a stress fracture. Now I'm out the rotation, and my mind is blown. So you asked me how I dealt with that. So the way I dealt with it, because there was a lot of embarrassment and humiliation for me growing up in LA, being on top at Crenshaw. And you know how it is when you're younger, you care about what other people think, and people are, Kris, you ain't gonna do it. And so I wanted to show everybody that I was going to do it. And dropping that 18 and showing I belong on the college level, I was like, oh, heck yeah. It was just one of those things I checked off, like, yeah, my dreams are coming true. And then my dreams are shattered. But then we go on this run now. My guys that J.R. Henderson, Toby Bailey, my fellow freshmen, are now playing a lot and, getting a lot of notoriety, getting a lot of love on campus. And, as time goes, this stuff kind of just like, you kind of get lost in the shuffle. So I'm not going to say that I was like necessarily like not happy about the run, but I had some concerns about my own personal success as well. People always walk around like you're just supposed to be a robot, and you're just happy because you're winning. That's not how this stuff works. A lot of times, especially when you place high expectations and standards on yourself personally. Okay, so what happened was, I think I was thinking about transferring, because I had came back and I was mad I wasn't playing. We're in the heart of the Pac-10 slate, and we're doing good too. And so we're winning games, we're beating folks, we're looking good. The lineup is working, the rotation is working. I'm sitting there outside looking in. I'm on an exercise bike at a practice, UCLA practice, my freshman year, because we're trying to keep the pounding, from the running and stuff because of the stress fracture. So I'm on an exercise bike, you know that move. So I'm on an exercise bike, kind of just like, man, I'm out of here. I was just thinking about transferring mid-season. Wow. It became a thing where, I don't know if it's jealous, but I see all my guys, everybody's playing. I'm not. I come back from my stress fracture. Coach ain't giving me a shot because he's not about to disrupt the chemistry because we're hooping. And so I'm like, man, F this and that. And so Steve Lavin, he was the third assistant at the time. Yeah. He wasn't RA anymore, a restricted earnings. He wasn't a restricted earnings anymore. He was the third assistant at that time. Yeah, because they took it out. Yeah. He comes up to me. He asked me what's going on. I just start going off. Like I just start going off to laugh, like fuck this, F this. I'm sorry, I didn't know you guys.
It's all good, bro.
But I was just going off. I was like, I'm out of here. Like I hate Coach Herrick. lied, like I'm cool. I was just like on some just completely off stuff. And then we just sat there for about 45 minutes and he just sat there and talked to me. He just talked to me about just like other stuff, like, what did I want to, just talking about life and decisions and how, decisions can alter your life forever.
That's Lav.
Hey,
That's fucking Lav, bro.
So Lav is giving me all this spiel, and he's breaking down like scenarios.
But had you ever seen this side of him before? Like, did you know he was like this?
So no. So this is my thing with Lav. I just knew he was, he could do the hell out of the King's drill, the stance. He demonstrated big step. Mm-hmm. And I used to always think he was a legend just for that. So I didn't really mess with him like that. But this was the first time he messed with me real heavy. He came to my city championship game, but it was like, I was looking for Herrick and Romar. But then Lav chopped it up with me for about 45 minutes. And I was just so like moved by the conversation and by him, because I never had that type of thought process, positive energy just jolted in me, because basically he was telling me he believed in me and that he believed in me, and that he felt like that I could help UCLA if I stayed. And to hear that from a coach, because I hadn't been hearing that a lot, believe it or not, even though Coach Herrick's playing me, they're not telling me all this, but to hear Lav say that he felt like I could really contribute here, it just gave me so much confidence and just made me so happy just to be at UCLA, and just something like that. Just somebody just telling you, you're going to help us here. And so I just, I decided against transferring. I ended up staying. And then that's when I started to, people, your loyal Bruin listeners will remember, I started wearing the towels and stuff. I only did that to cover my face during the game, because I'm sitting here. I was just trying to outwardly show that I was okay, I was happy, and I was cheering my team on. It was calculated. It was a strategic move done by me, because if I didn't have my towel on, and I'm an expression-filled person, so
cameras are on you,
and you're gonna see my face being pissed, and I'm gonna be salty over here. So I was like, I'm wearing towels, dog, the whole rest of the season. Ain't nobody gonna see my face, and I'm just gonna be like overdoing the cheering, overdoing it, and that's the role I took. And whether or not, on the inside, was I completely, totally happy and content with, our success despite not playing? I mean, if I'm completely honest, I was not happy. I wanted to be playing. I wanted to be contributing. I wanted to be getting some buckets out there. I wanted to be on Channel 5 News later on that night, like me and Toby running back to our dorm room. We're watching him on Channel 11, dunking, reversing on people. I wanted to get some of that love too. And so I flipped it into, a different type of move, because I just wanted it. I really felt like we could do something special. I didn't want to let down not only Lav, but Lorenzo Romar was very important to me as well as Coach Herrick, Coach Gottfried. But those guys, I just decided to flip my energy, because I know my energy. I can move a situation any way I want it with my energy. And if I was going to be a salty swordfish, as Lav likes to say, we probably wouldn't have won the championship. It would have been, I mean, I don't know if it was that big of a deal, but, you could be, a bad apple could spoil the whole bunch. You know how that go in team settings when everybody's trying to pull in the same direction. You got somebody over here tripping. It's like, man, we ain't got time for that. So I snapped out of it, man.
But anybody in that situation would feel the same way. And if you don't feel that way, you're not a competitor. Like, you don't want someone to get injured. But at the same time, you're like, man, this is some, man, I want to play. I want to play.
I want to play.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting. So you had different motivations that created this narrative. And then you go on and you changed some other things about you physically. So talk a little bit about how you transformed yourself physically, and how that really helped you, because we don't hear about stress fractures anymore. Like, remember back in the day, it was like everybody had these fucking stress fractures. Like, nobody hears about that shit anymore. Like, now it's whatever, ACLs or other things. But you transformed yourself because you maybe used Lav and as motivation, or you're like, this shit ain't gonna happen anymore. I'm not gonna give them a reason to pull me off the court. Fuck this shit.
Well, I'll tell you.
I know Cal was a motivation too, but still.
I'll tell you the real. It came to a point where, I'm looking around the locker room and, I'm seeing guys, everybody's, strong, cut up. I'm the only fat dude on the team. And I'll just be honest, I'm the only fat dude on the team. So I got tired of being known as that. I got tired of being kind of, singled out. Oh, the fat guy. Oh, you play football? Just getting those type of questions. And I just got tired of hearing that part. And then, back in college, all the girls, they loving Toby, they're loving Charles, they're not loving me. I'm like, hold on, I need to get some of this love too. Forget that. So and then the number one thing though is of why this happened to me, why I changed my body, why I lost all the weight. It was my mother. So I went down to Atlanta where my mother had moved to.
Interesting.
And, when I got off the plane, this is after we won a championship, it was a big deal. We had been to the White House, Disneyland parade. So I had been living it up all spring. So I get down to my mom's in July or June 1st, 1995. And she sees me off the plane. She's like, oh no, boy, we're gonna have to do something about this. Now, mind you, my mother is a vegetarian, for the last 40 years and just in immaculate shape. She, doesn't look, she's just, she's 65, but doesn't look a day over 45.
Hey.
And so she was just taking care of herself extremely well. And so she saw me, she said I was looking unhealthy. And so she made up her mind that she was going to wake me up every morning and we were going to work out. We're going to do all this stuff as far as my diet, my workout. And back in the day, she was big on herbs and supplements. So she had me on turmeric in 1995. Wow. I was on garlic. I was on all that stuff. I'm on echinacea, all this stuff, that zinc, all that in 95. I was on it all. And so my mom had me on that. Wow. She had me on, so I was walking 3 miles in the morning with North Clayton High School on the track at North Clayton in College Park, Georgia. Wow. I was walking 3 miles with the trash bag type sweatsuit, burning calories.
School. Yeah.
Then I go to, there was a gym, a weightlifting, just a bare bones kind of just, this dude named Danny owned it, and he used to be a bodybuilder, and he just had a gym that was just whatever. So I go over there, I'd work out with Danny, and then later on in the evening after my mom got off of work, because she walked before work and then we walk after work, and then I'd walk, run it, do some stuff. And so all that to be said, I spent the 30 days down there with my mom. I lost like 31 pounds in 30 days, all naturally, all healthy. So I come back to UCLA. I'm like 230, 6'5", 230. Nobody's recognizing me. That's the summer that the UCLA people had called Michael Jordan was filming Space Jam. And right. So just the timing of everything, just to come back off the plane, just lost all the weight. Second day back in LA, I'm at the Jordan Run Dome with Mike. He sees me and it's just like, he knows I lost weight because he know I've been fat my whole life. So he's just like, dang, Kris. Then he tells Tim Grover. No, seriously. Then he tells Tim Grover, man, make sure you pick him on my team. Like, because he knew like Kris has been working his ass off. Like, I see what time this is with him. And for Mike to do that and pick me, and Cedric Ceballos, I had him on the show. We talked about it. Yeah. All them guys gave me a hard time, all them guys. But by the end of probably 3 weeks or so, they were telling me, hey, man, if you don't start next year, man, something's wrong. Yeah, they were just, everybody from Juwan to Grant Hill to Patrick Ewing to Mike to Dennis Rodman. I mean, all them guys just rubbing elbows, rubbing shoulders with those guys, working out, observing them, observing their process, observing how they do things, how they move. It really propelled me on next to my sophomore year.
That's great. Fascinating stuff from Kris Johnson. We hope you enjoyed part 1 of this 2-part series with Kris Johnson, former national champion with the UCLA Bruins, right here in the Sports Deli. For Dr. J and Coach K, I am Hootie Hoot. And again, we hope you listen to part 2 of this incredible interview, which will discuss KJ's very passionate and intense feelings about the Black Lives Matter movement, the black dollar, and reparations. Remember, your voice matters when fighting systemic racism. Read a book, acknowledge your white privilege, watch a movie about institutional racism, call your local or state representatives, and or have a conversation with someone that doesn't look like you. We have to change the economic, educational, police, housing, prison, and voting suppression narratives that currently need to be changed in this country. And the only way to do that is to listen and learn and then help be a part of the mobilization and change that we want to see. Remember, you can always send us an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com. Until next time, please mask up still. Remember, Black Lives Matter. Peace.